Testify presents the book of Philippians Bible study. Let's continue. Philippi was a Roman colony in ancient Macedonia, and Paul started his first church in Europe there. Paul faced resistance there when preaching the good news, as the people consisted of lots of patriotic retired soldiers. However, the people that became followers continued faithfully, even after Paul had moved away. Paul sent this letter to them, during one of his many imprisonments, for a very practical reason. One of the members of the church in Philippi, Epaphroditus, took a financial gift to Paul, and to support him in prison. Paul sent this letter back with Epaphroditus to say thanks for the generous gift and address the community. Chapter 1 opens with a prayer of gratefulness, as Paul thanks God for the Philippians' generosity and faithfulness. He sees that God has transformed their lives. Paul assures them that his time in prison has been beneficial for advancing the good news about Jesus. All the Roman guards and administrators know that Paul is in prison for announcing Jesus, as the risen Lord, and his imprisonment has inspired confidence in other Christians to talk about Jesus more openly. As Paul is optimistic that he will be released from prison, it's still possible that he could be executed instead. He decides that dying would actually be better than living. For me, life is the Messiah, and so dying would be a gain. If he is executed, he would be with Jesus, which would be great for him. But if he's released, he could keep working to start more Jesus communities, which is better for others. Paul urges the Philippians to live in Christ, be like Christ and imitate Christ. Paul relays the Messiah's story in a poem. He says that, before Christ became human, he pre-existed in a state of glory equal to God. Unlike Adam, who tried to seize equality with God, the Messiah chose to not exploit his equal status for self-advantage. Instead, he emptied himself of status to become a human, a servant to all. He even allowed himself to be humiliated, and was obedient to the Father by going to his death, on a Roman execution rack. Through God's power and grace, the Messiah's shameful death was reversed through the resurrection, highly exalting Jesus as King of all. He was given the name above all names so that all creation could now recognize that Jesus the Messiah is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Paul speaks about Timothy and Epaphroditus, because they're both examples of people living out Jesus' story. Timothy is like Jesus in that he is constantly concerned for the well-being of others more than himself, making sacrifices to serve them. Epaphroditus, whom the Philippians sent with their gift, ended up risking his life to serve Paul in prison. He got so sick that he almost died while helping Paul. Like Jesus, Paul gave up his status and honor, now regarding it all as filth. He became a servant like Jesus, participating in his suffering and sacrificial love. Paul says that, for followers of Jesus, their true citizenship is in heaven. Paul challenges the Philippians to keep living out Jesus' story and addresses two prominent women leaders in the church that had worked alongside him. They're in some kind of conflict, so Paul pleads with them to follow Jesus' example of humility, reconcile, and become unified. This leads to the conclusion of the letter. Paul again thanks the Philippians for their sacrificial gift, and he wants them to know that his imprisonments and times of poverty are not true hardships. He also reminds them that God is indeed the provider, and will always make provisions for his people, and we simply should be dependent on God for all things. I hope you enjoyed this Bible study. Join us for more in future.